Hey, welcome back to Saturdays with Grace. It's been a while since we filmed. We had some life changes and some experiences that we can tell everybody about later. But Grace is really anxious to get caught up on her Saturdays with Grace. So what we're going to do is we're going to film maybe 2 or 3 in a weekend. And we'll release 1 a week until we get caught up. That'll be fun, huh? So it's going to go Lego bricks, and then a cooking, and then a craft, or maybe a craft and then a cooking. We'll decide. But we'll go in that order. So today, right now, we're doing Lego bricks. So here we go. And Grace's goal is to get on YouTube Kids. So if you're watching this, and if you watch this on a regular basis, be sure to follow us and to like us so that she can achieve her goal. Okay. So this is the March Lego bricks. Oh, here's your Spotlight of the Month piece. Okay. So let's get our book out. Minifigure Circus Detective. Oh, it's a circus story. A Spotlight Star. Okay. Use the pieces given in your minifigure challenge pack plus any pieces from your own collection. Oh, we didn't grab our own collection. We'll do that real quick. The Spotlight Star. Use the special Spotlight piece plus up to 15 other pieces from your collection. And that's the Spotlight piece right there. It's yellow. Blindfold magic wand. You don't usually do the blindfold. But there's wear a blindfold and build the challenge using only the pieces in your blindfold pack. We'll set a timer for 5 minutes. We'll do that even though you're not blindfolded. You get 5 minutes. Your micro build top hat. Use only the pieces found in your micro build challenge pack to complete this build. And the Premier clock. Use only the pieces found in your Premier challenge pack to complete this build. Alright. So Detective Grace, Private Eye, 221B Booster Street, uncovering the truth 1 brick at a time. We'll start our story. Booster bricks featuring a circus mystery. Okay, so we've got our welcome. To help make this circus story come to life, pause when you see the Lego brick and build the challenge that goes with it. To hear the story read aloud, oh, we could have gone and had them read it to us. But you're going to hear it read aloud because I'm going to read it to you. Good day. I am a detective who specializes in circus catastrophes. The circus business relies on everything going smoothly, which is why I approach every case knowing that no matter what, the show must go on. Okay, so using your minifigure pack, that's your Premier challenge. Minifigure challenge. And any pieces from your own collection. Build a detective. Alright. When you get started, I'll go get your links.
Please find some hair. Meanwhile, he will wear this hat. All attention aboard.
Grace's brick collection has gotten very large.
There's others.
Yes, ma'am. All right, you
So.
peek in there and see what you need. You got the detective? He's got a
I'm
hat.
trying
He
to-
doesn't really need hair.
No, I'm putting on the head until he gets there, so I can turn
Yeah.
it.
A square one for him to stand on.
Actually, no, I'm gonna find stuff that could be like clues,
There.
and then I'm gonna set the clues on the ground.
Okay. Oh, this was. Okay. So today I am being brought in by a well-known circus ringmaster to investigate the mysterious disappearance of the singing lion, Felipe. Tomorrow is supposed to be the biggest show in the history of this circus. People from all over the world want to see a singing lion. Felipe went missing sometime during rehearsal this afternoon, since he was seen before his act, but never came on stage to rehearse. There are less than 12 hours before the show starts tomorrow, so I must get down to business fast. As I arrive, I notice everyone seated inside the tent, promptly facing the center stage. No one is allowed to leave, says the ringmaster, until we find out who kidnapped Felipe. He steps aside and allows me to take over the investigation. Does anyone here know anything about the disappearance of Felipe the singing lion? I ask the crowd. Everyone looks around at one another, but no one speaks up. I squint my eyes toward the back of the room, and I see a hand making odd gestures. I ask the subject to come forward. It appears to be a lowly mime. Do you know what a mime is?
Yes.
And I can't help but notice the sad look on his face. Mimes don't speak, do they? Do you know what happened to Felipe? I asked. I realize now that he won't speak because he's dedicated to his silent act, and everyone knows a good mime never peeps a word. He could use some practice with his gestures, though. The mime steps up on stage, waving his hands in every direction. I can't figure out what he's trying to say. Aha! Now it looks like he's taking a new approach to communication. Building. Interesting. Using the pieces in your Premier Challenge pack.
Wait, I'm not done building the tent.
Oh. Here's your Premier Challenge pack. Build a large clock striking 3 o'clock.
Okay. Ooh, that's a lot of pieces. Wait.
Yeah, it is a lot of pieces.
Only the pieces in my favorite challenge pack. Only those pieces, Mama?
Only these pieces. This looks like plenty enough pieces to build a clock, don't you think?
Yeah.
Oh, there's one stuck in there.
Come on.
That little pipe thing. Go. Come on over here and build the clock.
No, I'm trying to build this brown. Where it
Whoop.
can listen.
Uh-oh. I lost a very small piece. It looked like this. It's back here on the floor. I'm going to keep reading. You should build a clock before I get to the next challenge, huh?
Yes. Okay.
All right. When the mime reveals his build, I take a moment to inspect. A clock. Time. Tick-tock. Watches. What does this have to do with a missing Felipe?
So I'm gonna make random small blocks as the numbers.
But then I notice the time. 3 o'clock. This must be when Felipe went missing. Now we're getting somewhere. you know what 3 o'clock looks like? What does it look like? Where's the big hand on 3 o'clock?
It's on the 12.
And where's the little hand?
In the middle.
The middle?
The middle.
Pointing at what number?
3.
Okay.
That way, middle.
So like that.
You don't even have a clock in here.
Up there, but it actually almost says 3 o'clock. Apparently we need to adjust that one.
Yeah.
The ringmaster hands me a rehearsal schedule for that day. According to the list, only 3 acts were still waiting to go on stage at 3 o'clock, while everyone else was in the audience after they already performed. Finally, we have our first suspects, a ventriloquist, a magician with his assistant, and 2 jolly jugglers. Okay, so here you can build these out of your own pieces if you want. A magician and his lovely assistant, a ventriloquist who makes a panda bear talk apparently, and 2 jugglers.
Yeah. You're not gonna build any. Put the clock, 'cause the clock isn't done.
The crowd begins to whisper amongst itself. I call all 3 suspects to the stage, and I watch them nervously walk down the aisles and up the steps. I look over at the mime, and he begins to assemble a clue. Right, when you're done with your clock.
Ta-da! It says 3 o'clock.
It says 3 o'clock.
3 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 3 o'clock.
Okay. So
I'm gonna finish building the stage.
no, we've got our next challenge.
I don't know. The stage.
Using your micro build challenge,
Not finished. Micro
build
Time for a micro build.
a top hat as the next clue. Do you know what a top hat is?
Yes.
What's a top hat?
A top hat.
It has a brim, right?
Yeah.
And it has
Yeah, I'll
this. See the picture here? That's a top hat. There's a fancy top hat.
I
So
can make it.
make it out of these pieces here.
I know how to make this. This is
It's usually round.
easy.
You probably want a round piece.
No, no, no.
You know, square top hat.
Yes, a Minecraft top hat, people. A Minecraft top.
As the second clue is revealed, it becomes very obvious to the crowd and to myself which of the 3 suspects is innocent. The ventriloquist and the magician are both wearing top hats. The jolly jugglers look at each other and pull on their silly hats. Definitely not top hats. They are free to go, and they return to their seats relieved. Now I am down to just 2 suspects. I ask the crowd of performers if there is any reason to believe that either of these acts would kidnap the lion. A woman in a leotard says, I once saw Felipe bite the head off of one of the ventriloquist dummies. He was furious and had to get a new one right before a show. Isn't that reason enough? The crowd whispers and continues. This could be the motive I am looking for, which might explain the revengeful kidnapping. Uh-oh.
That's fine.
Just as I am ready to condemn a man in a suit. Oh, just as I am ready to condemn, a man in a suit suddenly stands up and speaks up. Bring it over here. That's your top hat.
My top hat. It doesn't need that.
You really want a square top hat.
Yes, because
He exclaims that once Felipe had eaten the magician's special rabbit treats, and it ruined an entire act since the rabbit would not obey him in his act. Just like that, I am conflicted once again. They both seem to have valid reasons to be angry at Felipe. I look to the mime again and anxiously await his next clue. This time he turns off the lights to build. The audience lets out a few cries, but I allow him to continue. There must be a reason for this. Okay, here's your blindfold build challenge, but you've got a 5-minute limit. Okay?
No blindfolds. No blindfolds. Did I just say blindfolds?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what blindfolds are. What do I need?
Build a magic wand, just like in Harry Potter. For the big one.
I know. Ooh. Here we go.
I could shoot magic at. Magic cannon.
No.
Here, sit on top.
Oh. I need to finish building. Again. Oh. Okay. And then the wand has a long.
Where's the handle part?
Right here.
Okay.
I need to add. Just add this and that. No, no, no.
Oh, is this the part? The magic cannon?
Yes. And then the magic cannon. No, no magic cannon.
The magic cannon, that's your wand, huh? Whoops. That's alright. As the lights come back on, everyone sees the next clue. Immediately it becomes clear. A ventriloquist act does not include a wand, but a magician's act certainly does. The crowd starts to boo at the magician, accusing him of kidnapping Felipe. The magician is practically in tears. I didn't do it, I promise you. I would never do such a thing. I may be a master in illusion and deceit on stage, but I would never ever put our circus in jeopardy, especially the day before such a big show. I look around. The crowd seems to be set on the magician. Oh, now crawl under and get that real quick.
I'll get that.
But there's something in his voice that tells me he isn't lying. I would know. I deal with magicians all the time. As I look over my notes, I begin to wonder if the mime is just leading us through a pointless game. Does he really know? I look at him again. He looks more upset than ever and starts waving his arms and making motions that no one can make sense of. Is it the magician, I ask? He desperately shakes his head. He thinks for a moment. Then he starts to build his final clue.
The final code.
All right.
Wait.
Oh, we're going to use this piece. And you can pick up to 15 other pieces.
Oh no.
And we're going to make this one a surprise.
A random build.
No. I want you to build okay. And we'll see if everyone can guess what you build.
What up?
Ready, set?
Okay.
Okay.
A double. No, it's a double wand.
Okay, the wand is done.
Haha.
Now build the other thing. You probably need... No, you need to use this piece.
Oh.
This is your
Oh.
challenge piece.
By the way, those are in my Lego
Yeah, you
collection.
can use those. You know what you want to do? All right. What are you looking for? Whoops. Put that on the top. Oh, there's some over there too. There you go. And pieces like this. Sticking out like that. I don't think so. What kind of yellow pieces? Square. Oh, here's two. And here's two more. Did you find them? All right. Maybe around the other edge. Put that in the middle to hold those together. It will, it just was.
We don't need any.
You sure? Alright, let's finish it. Do you want just one of those?
Okay.
Can you replace it with a different color? Alright. Is that it? Hold it up. Alright. So, you know what it is. Good for you. Okay. It is a star. I expected this to make it abundantly clear, but now I am more confused than ever. A star? What does that have to do with anything? I am now convinced that this mime is just playing with us and does not actually know who kidnapped the lion. It's getting late and I am starting to worry. The closest thing I have to a suspect is the magician now, but this star clue is throwing me off. There are no stars in this act. I scratched my head. Just then the magician's assistant, Shannon, speaks up. Ugh, how many clues do you need to know the answer? I did it. I kidnapped Felipe. The crowd gasps. How could this be? Was she on stage by 3 o'clock? No. Is she wearing a top hat? No. But in their final act, she does. Does she have a magic wand? Yes. In fact, she is the one that makes the magician disappear in his final act when the lights go off. How did I not see this before? But the star, what did the star have to do with it, I ask? Because I wanted to be the star. I've been performing here for 7 years. Our act has become more and more famous, and we were finally going to be the main act and steal the show. But then they brought in that silly singing lion, and that's all anyone cared about. This was supposed to be my time to shine. She starts to cry, and now it all makes perfect sense. I had never suspected her because she was so poised and sweet. No one knew she could be capable of kidnapping a lion. Luckily, Felipe was located unharmed and with a full belly. It turns out he just followed a trail of rabbit snacks to a trailer and then fell asleep there. He is better than ever and rehearses the next morning. Finally, my work here is done, and I am proud that the show does go on. I watch as the audience gives a standing ovation to the magician and his assistant, who watches the ringmaster who the ringmaster graciously allowed to perform despite the circumstances. There is a twinkle in Shannon's eye, and I can tell she truly feels like a star. I hope she learned her lessons. Otherwise, I might be back. So did you like the story?
Yes.
Oh, so here's a photography challenge. Build a circus act. Okay. This one is a dragon tamer, apparently. And we'll take a picture of it and send it in. So that is our booster bricks from March, a little behind. And we'll get that out on YouTube
Everyone.
next on an upcoming Saturday, along with a craft and a little cooking show. Remember, if you like watching Grace as she goofs her way through these things, silly kid, be sure to like us and follow us so
Now,
that she can get her own
this
YouTube
flower
Kids channel.
will
Thank you.
move while making a note up here.